All right, what's going on YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Let's address the Dillian Whyte situation. I want to give you an update. I can't cover everything because it's just too much information. All right, there's too many reports out there, and at the end of the day, we're just waiting for the results to come back. We all waiting. We all know. We just want to know. I just want to know: did you fail or not? Did you fail the test? Were you juicing? Are you dirty? Or are you not? You know, that's all I want to know. That's all I want to know, and we can move on. If you're cleared, you're clean, you're cleared, then we're all good. We're all good. But if you were juicing and your test comes back dirty, then you should be banned. And that's it. All right. But there's a lot of things that I'm going to stress in this video because I think that regardless of the results, this is really going to change everything to me. I think this is bigger than just failing a drug test. This could possibly be a whole scandal because there's so much involved and there's so many people involved. And if he does actually fail, if he does fail, it looks like it appears to be a cover up. If he does actually fail, if he doesn't and he's clean, then that's a huge problem from a lot of people too. Because the media and the way that they're reporting news, um, the way that reporting is going to be done after this, it should change the way it's done if he is clean. But if he is dirty, this is going to be a big black eye for boxing. Like this is going to be huge if he actually fails. Okay, um, because of all of the parties that are involved. Also, there's the whole glove situation as well. Okay, that needs to be addressed. All right. Um, so I'm going to address all of that. But you know, this past week, I've never covered. Listen, I never covered the BBC before or the British Boxing Board of Control or uh, I've never covered UCAD or the NADP. I've never made videos about any of these agencies or anything like that. You know, this is my first time and getting all this information at once. It's a lot. I've been reading reports. I read Max Boxing's report to the NADP and who they are, the panel. You know, it was the National Anti-Doping Program or whatever. I read them and I read that article. I read another article, spraying UCAD and the United Kingdom Anti-Doping and then, the British boxing. I've read reports on this and I'm trying to get an understanding and I want to assess this situation. Well, it's so many people involved, and a fight went on. From what we do know, or what's been reported, that Dillian Whyte was brought upon a panel and to address this situation and this drug test that he took that allegedly came back to Dianabol, okay, allegedly, because when the first report on Boxing Scene, when that first came out, it was very, very, very vague, and you guys see my video on that. Um, I didn't say much. I was pretty much saying like, if let's wait and see what drug test we're gonna get, or what drug that he actually pop on, and um, let's just wait, and that's pretty much what I said in that video. Okay, there's been more reports, but we're still waiting for that B sample, even if there is a B sample, because, like again, we don't really know. There are people that are obviously they're gonna go hard at Dillian Whyte. Like, what you doing? You failing drug tests out here? Like, they're going crazy at him. He should be banned. He should be this, that. The fact that they didn't notify Rivas, they're going crazy. But there's people that are also defending that you gotta ask yourself, like, all right, you're defending him, but what if he actually failed the B sample? How can you defend him? There's something going on. There's some kind of investigation going on. Something happened. You know, and now this is going to be a whole legal situation because Oscar Rivas obviously is gonna he's gonna legally take action against Dillian Whyte and Eddie Hearn or whoever else is involved. The BBC and stuff, which he should if Dillian Whyte pops dirty. If he's juicing, he should. Because the fact that he wasn't told, And that's the thing about the BBC. Has it always been this way? Because what I want to know is what happened in that situation that week. Is it normal to go and continue with a fight knowing that a guy failed the drug test? If he did fail the drug test, is that normal? This is what I want to know. But the BBC, the UCAD, no one, they're not making any statements about anything, and that makes it even worse because days are going by and no one's forgetting about this. No one's forgetting about this. We want to know. No one's just gonna let this. This is not one of those things that just can go. You just hide out and just forget about it. No, this is huge. This is bigger than the Gerald Miller day. This is much bigger than that. If he actually tests positive, yes, it's bigger than Gerald Miller. Gerald Miller, yeah, I know there's 3 drugs. I know it's a big deal, but what I'm saying is, it's the fact that yeah, with Gerald Miller, I mean, he pops 30, and Joshua gets the replacement fights go on. It is what it is. It happens all the time. But the fact that a fight went on, we found out after. And then we find out that this fighter knew, and his promoter knew days prior to the fight, and nothing was done. Especially with the timing, the climate of boxing right now. With 2 boxers that recently passed away. You know, it's the timing. It could be at no. This is the absolute worst time that stuff like this could come out. So this is much worse, and that's why I say this can possibly be a whole scandal. All right, let's let's try to break this down. Eddie Hearn. Let's start with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn. I've listened to several videos of his, and he's pretty much saying the same thing. Listen, he's saying that the BBC, they cleared it. He was cleared before the fight. That's all he's saying. He was cleared. He was cleared. Now, when you say he was cleared to fight, are you saying he was cleared of any wrongdoing? Meaning, did he test positive for a drug or not? He was cleared to fight is not saying that he was cleared from the test. Eddie Hearn has not said that. And it's weird because the media, the people that he's been getting interviewed by, they're not really addressing that. They're not pressing him like, okay, was he cleared to fight? Or there's an ongoing investigation and they cleared him knowing that this situation needs to be investigated. Okay, now, Eddie Hearn, we know it's not your job to notify the other party. All right? It's the agencies that's investigating situation. But the reason why it makes Eddie Hearn look bad is because morally, based on what you said about Gerald Miller and other drug cheats, morally, it contradicts what you've said before. That's why it looks so bad. Not only it contradicts what you've said before, but just morally, it shows that you will allow the fight to continue, knowing there's a possibility that your fighter may possibly be juicing on something. That's why it makes Eddie Hearn look bad. I really already know it makes Dillian Whyte look bad. I mean, he's failed the drug test before, but he's the fighter at the end of the day. He's going to want to get in the ring. He's going to deny it. Every fighter denies it until the B sample comes back. And then they make an apology statement, after the fact. After the fact, when you're backed into a corner. All right? But, Eddie Hearn, that's why it makes him look bad. And he's saying, listen, I can't say too much because this is a whole legal issue now. But the whole thing, let's just say he, tested positive on a B sample. If he tests positive on a B sample, and this is when boxing politics come into play, if he tests positive on a pending investigation before the fight, right? This was already being investigated. This was already known and brought up before the fight, and you allow the fight to happen without at least giving the other party, letting the other party know. Let him make a choice whether or not he wants to partake in this fight. But without them knowing, this will be huge. And not only that, I don't think it's just a legal thing. I think it's a criminal thing at that point. Because at that point, it will be like a cover up. You know? It already looks that way if he is positive. Now, if he's not positive, then the media, websites, YouTube, whatever, we have to take a different approach about making this news and putting this information out there. We have to take a completely different approach in the future because we're covering what we're reading in reports, which we always do. All right, but from here on, we can't continue doing it this way. We have to make sure we can report and say allegedly and all that. We can report it, but this guy is being attacked, and we don't even know the results yet. You know what I'm saying? So things will have to change. Things will have to change, without a doubt. But it looks bad, and I can tell you right now, morally, it just looks bad when a fighter is getting in the ring and the other party knows that they're being investigated on possibly using a drug. It just looks really, really bad, you know. Um, the glove situation. Now, according to Rivas is saying that they have a glove meeting where they test the glove, they check the gloves. There were two gloves there that Dillian Whyte got the okay to use. You know, he has his main gloves and then he has his spare gloves, and those both were okay. But according to Team Rivas basically is saying the gloves that Dillian Whyte wore on the fight, the night of the fight, were different from the other two gloves that he was approved to use. Now that's a WBC issue. Now I heard Eddie Hearn address that. He's basically saying, look, that's out of my hands. That's a WBC issue. Okay? That's a BBC issue. That's not my issue. This is the border control issue. This is a WBC issue. Okay? I get it. It is an issue. And this is what sucks about boxing politics. You know, because these guys, according to Team Rivas, they appealed it before the fight. As they should. I mean, if they knew about it before the fight, they should be able to appeal it, which they did. So I would also like to see how that whole situation is going to play out as well. We can't just, we're focusing on the drug thing because that's bad, but we got to focus on this glove situation too. What's up with that? I hope they're investigating that too. There's a lot going on with this fight. And from what Eddie Hearn said, he didn't really give an explanation. He's like, that's not my issue. That's not a matchroom thing. That's the kind of answer we got. What's going on here? There's a lot going on. You have a drug and a glove situation in one fight. That's bad. And we're not getting any statements. No one's saying anything. Now, I'll tell you who's saying a lot. A lot of people are coming out and saying things. I listened to Fred from Boxing Conversations interview with Bob Arum, and I'll tell you, regardless of how you feel about Fred and the LDBC, this was actually one of the best interviews I've heard. I mean, when it comes to asking the right questions, I mean, even the questions that were asked that weren't involved with this actual fight. Um, Talking about gaining information from Bob Arum, he's very blunt. You know, he doesn't mind telling it how it is at this point. He's an old man. I don't know if he was always that way, All right, because when I was a younger boxing fan, I didn't pay attention to boxing politics. I didn't know nothing about promoters. I mean, I knew who Bob Arum was. I knew who Don King was, but that was just about it. I knew who they were, but I didn't really like. I wasn't really pressing. I wasn't pressing anything. It wasn't until I started having a YouTube channel where I really started paying attention to the boxing politics. 'Cause I have to report it. I have to address it. You know. But Bob Arum had no filter in this interview, and it was a great interview. And Bob Arum is pretty much saying, look, the BBC, UCAD, Eddie Hearn, and them, all of them not letting Rivas know about the fight is a problem. And I agree. I agree. How do you not notify a fighter? How do you not notify the fighter when there's a pending investigation? How do you know, like, if Dillian Whyte fails, then what's the point of even letting fights go on? Like, what's the point of even having a board or anti-doping agency? What's the point if you're not going to stop fights from happening if there's an ongoing investigation? What's the point of even having it? It was a great interview. It was a great interview, and I heard Frank Warren, and he said something about he knows for a fact that either, and I don't want to get it wrong, but he said he knows for a fact, because I'm sure he knows people, Frank Warren, and I know he's a competitor, a direct competitor to Eddie Hearn. So if he could get the opportunity to jump on Eddie Hearn, he will. But whatever, who cares? He says he knows someone specifically. He knows for a fact that someone from the BBC maybe did not want to let this fight go on when they knew about it. Now maybe he's just talking shit, but maybe he's right. But these promoters are coming out and saying, knowing that this is a legal issue, they're still coming out and being very vocal about it. They're not holding any punches. Frank Warren, Bob Arum, guys that are experienced and know a lot about defamation, okay? They are even coming out and being vocal about it. If they're doing it, and I'm sure they know some stuff on the inside, I'm sure they're very comfortable saying what they're saying because they probably know a lot more information than what we know. I mean, it's only right. It just looks bad. It looks bad. It looks bad. We're gonna wait and we're gonna find out the results, you know, but it looks horrible. It looks horrible. Great interview though. Great interview with Fred and let me drift off a little bit. I made a couple videos recently talking about Terrence Crawford. I said in that video, I said, listen, he has a dilemma here because he's on the other side. I saw this interview the other night. He's on the other side of the street. Um, Unfortunately, he's on the side where the top welter. He's not on the side where the top welterweights are fighting. Okay. He fought Amir Khan. Yes, you have Kell Brooks still looming out there. You got a couple other guys that's still good. You got Jesse Vargas. He's still another guy that's a good welterweight to fight. There's a few guys that are not specific PBC guy, but the main guys are over there on the PBC. You know. And he said there is no other side of the street. But I made a video and I said, listen, not for nothing, but Bob was doing the same thing at one point when he had a stable of fighters, and this is why, when Top Rank was booming, I said this. I said you had Pacquiao, you had Tim Bradley, you had Marquez, you had a nice stable of fighters. You didn't have to deal with any of the Showtime fighters at that time. They were fighting on HBO, Showtime. Guys like Thurman, Porter. I mean, you had Floyd, but outside Floyd, guys like Porter, Thurman, Andre Berto, a few other fighters. These guys were on the come up. They weren't superstars yet. They weren't the top guys. Danny Garcia was still fighting at 140. They weren't there yet. They just wasn't there. And Bob Arrow kept it in house. He kept giving us rematches. He gave us 4 Marquez Pacquiao fights. He gave us 3 Pacquiao Tim Bradley fights. He even gave us Bradley versus Marquez. These are fights that we got because he had his own stable. He didn't have to be bothered with Showtime. So you gotta understand, and this goes out to the YouTubers. This goes out to the YouTubers. You gotta stop being so anti promoter, network, stuff like that. Because they all work the same way if we're keeping it real. What PBC is doing now, Top Rank was doing before them. Okay? So all the anti-PBC channels, you gotta understand that it's gonna be a turn like Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. They're getting their turn right now. Their turn is all the bullshit is coming their way. Eddie Hearn had a rough year this year. It's been a rough year. This is why you can't just defend promoters or networks. When it comes to the networks, I see, how many these YouTube channels, if they're pro PBC, they love making videos on how high the numbers are. But when the numbers are low, they never make a video about it. But the same with the people that are pro the zone or pro ESPN and Top Rank. When the numbers are high, they will brag about it. They will make videos. I've never made a video about numbers. I've never made a video about viewership. I've never made one, ever. So what if it's high? So I only care about me watching it. I don't care about how high it is. I'll address the pay-per-view numbers because I know that has to go with a lot with the pay-per-view, the fights and stuff. Like, it's something I can't avoid, but I don't make videos just addressing, well, the pay-per-views came back to this. I don't know. I do a post-fight, and if it's involved in leading up to a fight and there's a negotiation, and if I talk about the negotiation, I might bring it up. But I don't make post viewership videos. Like, I don't do that shit. You know why? Because ESPN will have a viewership that's high one week and the next week is low as hell. Or PBC will have a viewership where it's like a couple million on Fox, but then the next week it's like 400,000 views. I think that happened recently with the Charlo twins. I think Jamel had a high viewership and then Jamal had a low one. But everyone bragged about this is why I stay away from all that shit. I don't do that. And that's why I'm totally neutral and I'm not aligned with no one. Because everybody's going to get their turn. The networks, they're going to get their turn. There's going to be days where they're going to be very, very good. It's going to be great news. And there's going to be days where it's bad news. There are going to be times where we're going to get fights we want. And there are going to be times where they get fights. These promoters, I don't like any of them. I keep saying this to you guys. I don't know how people actually make videos defending promoters. Now, if you're doing it for a case-by-case basis, yes, that's fine. I do that. But our overall, no, they're all the same. They're all the same. They're all the same. They care about money. They're not fighters. They're not fighters. If there's an opportunity, look at Gerald Miller. I just said that the other day. This guy just failed 3 different steroids, and he's failed the drug test before. Yet Bob Arum shaking hands with him, and they was talking about there was rumors and there was a possibility, chance that he might get a fight with Tyson Fury. Oh, so he's gonna fight for linealship after. Like, these promoters are all about the money because they see Gerald Miller, big mouth, Tyson Fury, big mouth. They see potential with it. They don't care about integrity. They don't care about that shit. They're all the same. All of them. Some are a little different. Some are styles. Bob Aaron's an old man. He's been around forever. He's extremely blunt. He doesn't care about how you feel about what he says. Al Heyman, I know he's an advisor, not a promoter, but he's in the back. We don't even know what he is. We don't know. We don't know. All we know is that we got a couple pictures of what he looked like, a couple videos out there. We seen him a couple times. That's it. That's all we know. Eddie Hearn, he's the most vocal. He's on here giving us interviews every single day. You know, there's certain strengths and weaknesses, but at the end of the day, they're promoters. They're all about making money. I think they're needed because they put the fights together, they put the cards together, and I get that. But at the end of the day, what did Barry Hearn say? Eddie Hearn's father. What did he say when he said in the next? Everybody was dressing Barry Hearn and talking about the slave comment. You guys missed the whole fucking point. Y'all bringing a racial thing about it. I mean, yes, it did make me feel uncomfortable with him saying that, but y'all missed the biggest picture. The biggest picture is he's acknowledging the fact that he was handing out slave deals to fighters, period. Period. He's acknowledging, like, listen, we were giving out slave deals. These guys are going in the ring, risking their life, and we're giving them slave deals. That's not even, yo, y'all, y'all looked at, y'all missed the biggest picture. These fighters, these promoters don't care about the fighters. They care about ripping the money. They are draining as much money from these fighters as they can while they're around, while they're at their best. They don't care about the fighters. They care about making money because this is a business at the end of the day. Y'all made it about something else. A promoter who's comfortable enough, him and guys like Bob Arum, they've been around Frank Warren, they've been around so long, they can just come out and say whatever the hell they want. And you guys y'all made it a race issue. And I'm like, yo, dog, what he said is crazy. It just goes to show you can't like these sleazy promoters. This is why I don't want to be aligned with no one, because you defend somebody and then the next day they'll come out and make a crazy statement. You're like, whoa, shit. Boxing politics is corrupt. It's the most corrupt out of any sport. The most. This sport is not regulated. This is prize fighting. Anything goes down. Look at the glove situation. If that's true, that glove situation, that brings the WBC into this. These guys appealed it before the fight. Why did this guy go in without the gloves? Allegedly. But this is what is being reported by Team Rivas. Allegedly, Dillian Whyte went in there with some gloves that weren't expected. He already had them on. They were never inspected. This is according to Team Rivas. Is that true? I would like there to be an investigation on top of the alleged uh, failed drug tests. You know, I would like that to be investigated as well. You know, I don't understand the outcome of this. I think the outcome of this is gonna really hurt Eddie. Obviously, it's gonna hurt Dillian White, but it's gonna really hurt Eddie. If he does fail, it's gonna really hurt everybody, all parties involved, the agencies over there in the UK. Um, this just shouldn't be allowed, and I think there's gonna be a bigger investigation if he does fail, because it shouldn't be ran that way. It just shouldn't be ran that way. Oh man, things are gonna have to change after this. Like, at what point does like the federal government and stuff come in and step in and say, "All right, we're taking over"? Like, I don't know how that works out there in the UK, but when does the British government come in and, or just, because that's the thing with boxing, it's a worldwide sport. And there's different agencies for different countries and different areas around the world that covers this. And oh man, it's not a universal thing. Like every agency is their own agency. Every country have their own investigators and stuff. When is somebody bigger becomes like, I think I might have made a video in the past about boxing and the way that is regulated. Like when does someone bigger come in and straighten this all out? Because this can't continue being like this, you know? And I feel like the punishment and the bans for failed drug tests uh should be harsher. It should be 2 years. I always say it should be at bare minimum 2 years. That's the only way where boxers get hurt. They get hit hard when you can't fight for 2 years. You know? And sometimes in certain instances it should be longer. 2 years for one drug, maybe an additional year for more substance. If there's more substances, like three of them, it should be an additional year. It should be worth something like that. It needs to be harsher. Okay? Um Now let's let's talk to conspiracy theorists, okay? You guys know my channel. I like to look at everything from a case by case basis. It doesn't matter how I feel about Wilder, okay? It doesn't matter if I called him an embarrassment because he didn't take a fight I wanted to see him fighting. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I've said about Deontay Wilder. At the end of the day, he didn't fail these drug tests. He didn't fail. Now, there are people coming out about him being spiked and Dillian Whyte being spiked and all that stuff. I did see the conversation. I seen a video of there was an open mic. Well, not an open mic. There was a mic that was on that was recording Dillian Whyte's conversation with Eddie Hearn. I don't know, man. I don't know where to take that. I'm just waiting for the result. All this extra stuff, I'm just waiting for the results. But they were talking about it in the post-fight press conference about it. Or maybe it was one of the I don't know if it was beforehand or after. But they were talking about it, and some of the conversation was recorded. I don't know, man. But back to what I was saying. Let's look at Deontay Wilder. And for the people that saying, I don't know, they feel a little suspicious because it seems like anytime Wilder has a fight coming up against a dangerous opponent or someone is made mandatory or whatever, something comes up. Started with Povetkin. All right, you guys were around for that. That was a war on the YouTube community. Separated the YouTube community. And this is when the race wars really started coming into play on YouTube. All right. That was a big year. And I can tell you right now, the reason why that was an issue is because there were people saying that Wilder and all these other fighters were on PEDs. But when Povetkin tested positive for meldonium, I understand that was traces. Understand that people will say that it could be probably some from the previous year when he was using it and when it was illegal. When it was legal. I understand that. Wilder backed out of the fight. There was I think it was a suspicion. After the investigation, everything was clear later. But Povetkin tested positive for something else later that same year. All right. So this was even after Wilder. He tested positive again. Then there was that Warzik guy that was replaced by Gerald Washington. That was a fight that was a shit fight to begin with, but it is what it is. I think Wilder was coming off of a surgery or some kind of injury, and he took that fight. That guy tested 30, and he was a nobody. He wasn't even a dangerous fighter. He tested 30. Then it was the Luis Ortiz situation, a guy that previously failed drug tests before. His defense was, well, these were from my my blood pressure, medication, stuff like that. So the fight was pushed off. Berman Severn came in, he took the fight with Wilder. and then Wilder ended up fighting Ortiz later. All right, I can't blame Wilder for this other shit that's going on. I can't blame him for what happens with other boxers. I can't. I understand people have conspiracy. I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist guy. I like for hard facts to come out. That's just the way that I do my channel. Okay? Could I be wrong? Maybe something did happen. I mean, listen, if something comes out of the investigation, then fine. But I can't say that Al Heyman and all of these guys had any part of this. I can't prove that. I don't know who can prove that. But all I know is that Dillian Whyte did fail a drug test before. He did, you know. Povetkin failed a drug test after Wilder. Luis Ortiz failed a drug test before Wilder. And Warzik wasn't even a fight that we wanted. In fact, the Gerald Washington fight was a better fight. And he popped. So it doesn't matter what I've said about Wilder on his channel. I'm not giving Wilder credit. It's just that he has no involvement in this. He has none. From what I've seen, if Dillian Whyte failed a drug test, that's on Dillian Whyte. That's not on Wilder. That's not on Wilder. If Dillian Whyte fails, that's his fault. You should know what's going into your body. Plain and simple. You should know what's going into your body specifically. You know, if you have someone in your team that's providing you this stuff, this these drugs that you're taking, you should notify VADA or whoever you can. You should notify them before using this stuff, putting this stuff into your body. You're responsible for that. That's it. If I know if I'm allergic to something and I choose to consume it anyway, that's my problem. Whatever reaction I get, that's my fault. You know? So I'm not gonna go into the conspiracy thing, man. It doesn't matter how I feel about whatever, man. I don't I just don't do videos that way. Like I just don't do it. You know, it doesn't matter how I feel about water. And I wish, you know, I'm not listen. It's not my business what other people do on their channels. You know, whatever. At the end of the day, you're the listener. You have you have the choice to listen to people and not. If you want to take people's bullshit for whatever it is, that's your. There's channels out there. There are many great channels, but there's a lot of channels out there that are horrible. Okay, they post fake news. They post clickbaits. They're completely biased. Every situation, they will sit here and contradict yourself time and time again. You, as the listener, if you choose to listen to someone that has a narrative, that's your choice. That's not my business. This channel is my business. And in this situation, Dillian Whyte doesn't matter what I've been supportive of him. I've been supportive of him. You guys know that. Supporting this guy, saying like, look, this guy 600 plus days. He's number one. Why isn't Wilder? Why is he hasn't got his opportunity to fight Wilder yet? What's up with the WBC? What's up with them? Been saying that time and time again. But if you're dirty, you don't deserve an opportunity for the WBC shot. You deserve to be banned if you are dirty. If you are dirty. So at the end of the day, I'm just waiting for the final results of all of this. But I'm very, like I said, for boxing, I hope for boxing's sake that this guy is clean. You know, like Eddie Hearn, I listened to this interview and he's saying like he read the boxing scene article and he's saying things like a lot of it is true, but some of it is false. Like I don't like shit like that makes people. I don't. This is why I don't like promoters because they talk like that. You know, you're assaulting my intelligence here. when you say stuff like that. Some is true, some is not true. No, we don't want to know what's true. No, we want to know if this guy failed the drug test or not. What part of it is true? You want to elaborate on that? Now, if you can't for legal reasons, all right, cool. But UCAD, BBC, when are we getting that B sample? I see Frank Warren in his interview. He said we got it quickly. I don't know what's taking them so long. Maybe he's just saying that because he's a promoter himself, and he's a direct competitor to Eddie Hearn. So maybe he's just adding fuel to the fire. He could be, but at the same time, I would like to know like what's going on, and there's no statements that are being made. All right, they don't have to. You can wait till after the investigation. But again, what's the point of having an investigation and letting a fight continue? That's crazy. Heads need the roll if this guy tests 30, and if he is clean and everything is dropped and he's never tested positive or anything, then we gotta find a new way to you know, report these things. You report it in a way where, and that should be across the board with everything. And I can go into deeper when it comes to that because it's not just boxing. You know, we got to definitely change the way to how we report things. Unfortunately, there's not many neutral channels. Um, and there were a few channels that were neutral at one point, and then, I think the fans, and the fans too, because I know a lot of you guys don't have YouTube channels, but I read your comments, and the comments do matter. People go to videos and they read the comments. A lot of you guys are freaking boxing historians that's in the comments. A lot of you guys are very, very intelligent. You know the game, you know the sport. You just don't have YouTube channels. All right. But we have to start changing the way we take information if this guy is clean. If he is clean. But there are channels out there that are already defending Dillian Whyte, and that's dangerous. That's very dangerous if you are. It's dangerous if you are. Don't do it just because you hate Wilder. Don't do it. Don't do it. You don't want to be one of those guys. It's one thing to get a prediction wrong. So people could slander you, but it's a prediction. It's a fight prediction. But when you're putting out news and information and you're completely biased towards like sensitive topics like this, it can really destroy you. And you can lose a lot of credibility for it. And I'm not going to be one of those people. Like, if it's wrong, it's wrong. You should look at everything from a case by case basis. You can't just be so pro a certain fighter and defend them every chance, no matter what the situation is. That's not right. That's not right. You got to be logical. You got to assess every situation as it is, no matter who you like and no matter what emotions you have. You know, and that's how I see this situation. All right. I think I covered everything. I know it's a very long video, but I told you guys this is going to be a long video. Um, at the bare minimum, I think that these guys should at least notify Team Rivas. Let them know what they're dealing with. Let them know who they're fighting. You know. Um, and as far as the glove thing, I don't know what can be done at this point because even that situation, if it's true that the gloves that were used, if it can be proven at this point, I don't know if it can, but if it can be proven, well, what I want to know with that situation is why was nothing done? Was anything done? Now, I want to say why was nothing done, but if anything was done in the situation, well, was anything done? Because something needed to be done to make sure that this guy was wearing the right gloves. I want to know, like, what came out of that. You have one party saying one thing, and there's a couple of interviews out there, other fighters that's part of that's addressed this. I want to hear part fighters that's part of a party or a camp. Or I don't want to hear that. I want to hear from the organizations and the agencies that's involved that making sure that things stay clean. Because if nothing was done that day, it's gonna be really hard to make an investigation now after the fight is already over. But I can tell you right now, there's two things I could tell you. Two things. One, the first thing that I can tell you is that Rivas should have been notified about the drugs or the drug tests, the alleged drug tests. Okay? And two, this should be a no contest. There's just too much involved with this fight, and no one should suffer a loss at this point because you have both the glove and the drug situation, the possible drug situation. So it should be ruled a no contest. Now, if Dillian's clean, still investigate the glove situation. Some sort of investigation. If these guys appealed it before the fight, some kind of investigation should have been done prior to them actually fighting. If it was done, then it's all good. I didn't see any reports, any updated reports of this glove situation, right? But that should have been investigated before the fight. I don't know if they're gonna investigate it now after the fight, you know, but something should have been done before that. So those are my two major things. I think the fight should be a no contest, and I think also that uh was what was the first point? First point is that they in the future, regardless of what happens, fighters should be notified if their opponent um is being investigated for testing positive on a drug, even if it's just the A sample, and that's alleged. Like it's even if this was done, you know. But there's some truth to it, obviously, because even Eddie Hearn is saying there's a lot of truth to it. At least what was reported initially. All right. I think I covered as much grounds as I can today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Um, I think we all need to change of how we do these videos, though. You know. All right. See you in the next one. Peace.